Day 2 is dawning here at DreamHack Open 4 and a mammoth match to be kicking off the proceedings as it's elimination time. The UK lads will be hoping that this isn't their endpoint as they square up against the mighty Danes of Heroic in our first best of 3 series of the day. But I think we should quickly remind ourselves of exactly what is on the line here at DreamHack Open 4. Of course, this is an RMR tournament, no less, so it means the teams from Europe are competing out for those all-important RMR points. Of course, that's going to determine who is going through to the Rio Major. And as we can see, the rankings on our screen here, Vitality currently at the top of the scoreboard, closely followed by G2. And of course, the teams will be earning points. The points will be increasing as we get more and more RMR tournaments to keep it up to date with the most up-to-date teams, really, in these rankings. And of course, we also have the Road to Katowice as well. Teams will be earning points here as part of the ESL Pro Tour. Of course, DreamHack Open 4 will provide 100% of the points value for the next EPT Masters Championship in Katowice, then 50% of the value for the next championship in Cologne in 2021. And if that wasn't enough for all of you guys, the last tournament on the line, but by no means least, is of course the IEM Global Challenge. Alongside taking home the lion's share of the prize money here at Open 4, the winner of this tournament will also claim a spot at the IEM Global Challenge at the end of the year. So a huge amount on the lines for all 16 teams in attendance here today. And of course, joining me to break down all of this Counter-Strike goodness, Maniac and Potter. There's a lot to be breaking down going into this first best of 3. But talking about yesterday, Maniac, that games were delivering on every single front. So day 2 has a lot to be living up to.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we are going to go on that path and keep on the same rhythm that we had yesterday, then I will need way more than 1 bottle of water, because I was really, really sweating yesterday. Once more, we're going to bring up the game. Obviously, Astralis versus Heroic. 4 overtimes, I believe it was. Astralis putting ahead at the very end, but still, Heroic, they made a name for themselves once more. Once more, I'm saying that because they're starting definitely to ride legacy. And if they're going to keep on that way for Endpoint, things look a little dicey.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what is going to be happening in our first matchup of the day. But before we jump into that, let's take a little recap of our groups to see exactly where the standings are at the moment. Of course, there are 4 groups of 4 teams in each. Potter, are there any surprises for you jumping out here, just in terms of some of the results we've seen? Of course, we couldn't feature them all on the A stream. They were on other streams. Any surprises in terms of some of the results here?
Yeah, just taking a look at this quickly, it's got to be FaZe Clan and it's got to be NIP FaZe. We know that they had a honeymoon great victory over at IEM New York. There was a lot of high hopes for this squad moving forward to the latter part of 2020, and they kind of fell short in their opening match. And for the NIP side of things, they've got their superstar and knocked back into the lineup. No longer are they using their coach as a stand-in. So I thought, once again, here's a huge opportunity for these NIP guys. They fell a lot short, some would say, versus Sprout. Now, Sprout, I do think that them coming into this tournament, they might be a little underrated. They might be flying under the radar a little bit. So definitely, I'm keeping an eye on this squad because they seem to be surprising on all fronts, going back all the way to like July of this year. So they've been really performing.
Yeah, and of course we will be turning to face our attention to them later on in the day. But first, we've got to take a closer look at Group B, because this is where it's all going to be starting off for us today, Maniac. Again, that incredible Astralis versus Heroic matchup to rounds out yesterday. Now, Heroic have unfortunately fallen down to be that 3rd place spot in the groups, means they're going to be facing up against Endpoint. This is a group that is just so dicey looking at some of these names in here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I believe that the form that Endpoint has showed versus G2, so for the people who haven't seen that game, Endpoint didn't fall short 2-0 versus G2, but they put up a fight. 16-12, 16-13, it wasn't easy by any stretch of imagination for G2. And now the storyline is kind of evolving, because we started yesterday saying, Endpoint, unlucky for you, it's going to be really hard, probably the last place, but actually they're making waves. It's not going to be easy at all. And for Heroic in this matchup that we're about to cover, they really need to take them seriously. Otherwise, there might be an upset around the corner.
It's going to be a test indeed. And of course, we've got to take a look at what maps these 2 teams are going to be playing out on. We had a bit of speculation about this earlier, didn't we, Potter? So do you want to walk me through what your expectations are for this?
Yeah, so I do think that Nuke is going to be vetoed out by Endpoint. Heroic should be taking out that Dust 2. Now, these picks are going to be very interesting. Heroic, I do think they're going to lean once again onto that Vertigo, and Endpoint probably picking out that Train. The unfortunate thing for Endpoint coming into this veto right off the bat, so it is going to be Train and Vertigo, is that Heroic, when they can't play Vertigo, they insta-pick Train. So both of these maps right off the bat, the first two, is kind of in Heroic's ball court. But as Matthew mentioned, man, Endpoint, they're swinging up and they keep swinging. So yesterday versus G2, it was quite competitive. Even on this Vertigo, 16-13 loss, the first half was a 10-5 victory in favor of Endpoint. And we have to remember, Freya, DreamHack Summer just a few months ago, Endpoint was the team that got 16-0'd by Mad Lions on Vertigo, which is the very first time I've ever seen that on land myself personally. But they ended up coming back and actually winning that series in the later two maps and closing it out. So a lot of surprises, a lot of curveballs coming out for this Endpoint squad, and a brand new fifth in Flames, who there's a lot of high expectations on this young man coming into this event.
Yeah, there are a lot of storylines going into this one, and that Mad Lions matchup as well. That was obviously with their new fifth, as well. So even more coming out there. It was just it was unbelievable to see. So hopefully Endpoint have been working on exactly what they need to be doing. And if you're believing in the UK lads of Endpoint, make sure you put in #end in the chat. Or if you're siding with the Danes of Heroic, put #hero in the chat. I absolutely love that. We're going to be seeing hopefully some heroic plays coming out of them. But of course, Frankie had a chance to chat with Endpoint's coach ahead of this one. So let's see exactly what he had to say.
You've got an extremely tough group that no one would envy, to be perfectly honest, Ross. And you're not necessarily experienced at this level of competition, but actually you have been scrimming against the likes of Astralis and Heroic. So with that in mind, do you feel confident that you can challenge them as well in your future matches?
Yeah, we've practiced a lot of the top teams, quite frequently, and they do look to practice against us more so than practice against their immediate kind of competition. So, we have good scrims against them. Scrims are scrims. They're very different to official games, but as you said, it's an extremely difficult group. So whether it's Heroic or Astralis we play, we're kind of damned if we do or damned if we don't. So, if I was to choose between the two, I'd probably choose Heroic because we played them quite a few times and we have kind of a grasp, and I kind of think our map pools sync up quite well. So, and as I couldn't imagine, we'll, no matter what happens, we'll do our best. But it's very difficult to imagine a realm where Astralis would go out in last place in the group. But stranger things have happened, I guess.
Some huge storylines coming into this one. One that you picked up on, Potter. Obviously, Thomas departing the team. He was a staple name of this Endpoint roster. Now, Flames is being added in as a new member. So how have you kind of been seeing the team dynamic shift around that?
Huge shoes to fill for Flames. We always talked such high compliments of the young man in Thomas. He had so much responsibilities on this Endpoint lineup with all the experience that he brought to the table. I will say, though, Flames has been impressive. I've watched 3 matches of this young man, and each match that he's starting off with 3+ kills on pistols. Not only that, but his utility usage and his movement. His movement is so clean, and he does seem to be reacting quite well off of Endpoint's communication, because he is generally in the right place at the right time. Now, yesterday versus G2, he was a little bit shut down, I gotta say. He's swinging up. The level of competition that he's facing off against is brand new, and it's a lot higher, the caliber of teams. So definitely this is a kind of a rude awakening for this young man, only 17 years old, but I have a feeling that he's gonna rise up to the challenge, because in that server, he's deadly.
Yeah, sticking on that point of just the G2 matchup very quickly, Maniac, what were your kind of key takeaways from that one? Because you were saying, they were giving G2 a run for their money at some points during that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that on their T side, Endpoint were given a lot of space by G2. And if you give them that space, they have the executes. They have a lot of fake-based strategies. They use the same smokes, but with different endings. So if I'm Heroic right now, if I'm done my job, I want to be in their faces. I'm not too scared of that. We've seen yesterday the type of CT side that Heroic can bring to the table. So they definitely have what it takes. I just wanted to quickly mention Surreal. I think he's going to be a key player here. He's one of the most experienced players in that lineup. He was in Complexity back then, if we scroll down memory lane once more. And on either side, T side or CT side, he has a lot of responsibility, a lot of autonomy. He's often alone on positions, so keep your eye on him.
Well, we're turning to face Heroic on the side of this one, and Frankie had a chance to catch up with Cadian ahead of it.
Good morning, Caitlin. Thank you so much for joining us. I've just got one question for you, which is I want to find out more about how you calculate those risks when you're on your CT side, stacking those bomb sites.
Sometimes roll the dice. Other times it's based off previous tendencies, either in the actual match or in the preparation that we have done. Some teams lean more towards one of the bomb sites often. And sometimes it can also just be like a gut feeling. And yeah, in our team, we have plenty of gut feeling. So it's about trusting the right ones.
Do you ever change that approach, though, depending on the team you're playing?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Some teams we don't really go that much for the aggressive mid-round search. We prefer to just stay back, depending if they're like heavy execute-based team or if they're kind of just going with the flow. We'll try and agree upon some specific playstyles before the game.
And which one of those teams is Endpoint?
Oh, I can't reveal too much here, Frankie, on the show. You know that. I'm not going to say what we're going to do exactly for Endpoint. We should be the favorites.
Well, I just hope it's a banger of a match like last night's one was. Thank you so much for talking to me, Cady, and good luck.
Thank you.
I'm so glad Frankie had the chance to catch up with Cadian ahead of this one, because Maniac, we were saying it yesterday, his performance against Astralis, even though they lost, it was still something to be marveled at.
Absolutely, and I'm going to be short right here. I believe that Heroic's most dangerous enemy today is themselves. Yesterday, they played against Astralis. They did put a really, really good fight, overtimes afloat, really tense game. Now they have to play versus Endpoint. It's a different kind of caliber, but they have to put the same energy and the same focus into that game.
Well, I'm also really excited to see what Twitch chat results are saying. I'm interested to see if you're going to be siding with the UK lads on this one. Actually, 55% are thinking that Endpoint will be bringing it home. And I think with that, we can kick off our first best of 3 of the day. Everything is on the line in this matchup. It's an elimination game, no less, to find out who will live to fight another day here at DreamHack Open 4. It's Heroic versus Endpoint, and it's coming up after this.
DreamHack Open Fall 2020, Day 2, baby. We're on the A stream. It's Scrawny and Launders, and it's Endpoint versus Heroic. Now listen, Endpoint coming in from the qualifier, and Mohan, some would argue they may not even deserve to be in this group of death. But you know what? They put up a fight yesterday versus G2, and I think Heroic may be writing them off a little too quickly.
We'll see. You know, it was yesterday, G2 were coming off a loss streak. Here, Heroic are coming off a loss streak. So hopefully poor Endpoint isn't the guy in the locker room getting whipped by towels by all the big dogs, and we'll get a chance to see them keep a loss streak going. Maybe they can take down Heroic. Well, you can start here with this best of 3. And luckily, they've got Train to kick it off on.
Yes, Train. A good place to be, a good place to start your day, I believe. So let's just get right into it. Endpoint to the T side, Heroic on the defense. And of course, the beauty of Endpoint's attempt yesterday was that it wasn't just one guy. We were talking about the whole damn team. But right now, we need to talk about Nico. He's just tapping with that USP, gets 2 kills as they try to exit the A site. And while T-Con is still an entry, they're not finding any kills. And that's what they need to couple together with this minimal map control. Spore up with the CZ kill, now leave just Mighty Max and Robin, and they're so pinned into their positions that it would take Robin's flank to go big. Unfortunately, it gets shut down immediately, like everybody else on Endpoint.
Of course, the difficult part with Heroic is defeating their CT sides, where they're playing so brave at this moment that they're willing to push versus Astralis, they're willing to push versus any team in situations where you think they'd be even safer playing passively. But That being said, Endpoint themselves have a lot of experience versus Heroic in scrims, as we heard from Robin in the interview. So they might be used to the style of CS. A lot will be learned about the way that they play against each other in this match setting, but there's going to be some history behind it that we haven't seen.
Force buy up. We got the Deagles, we got the Tech-9s, we got enough smokes to actually do something outer, and it's not going to be nearly as quick as that pistol was. So let's, let's settle down, boys. We had that first round jitters. We went rushing into the bomb site as if it's all going to be easy, and now Endpoint, they're going to have to take a breath and get into this second. Smokes go over the top.
Yeah. So what do we know about Endpoint? They do a good job with low utility on these second round buys to throw small fakes just to try to cause 1 or 2 rotations. And it looks like it's enough. Borup turns his back. Borup gets shot in the back. Mighty Max will ice one more out. Tessus is off the server, and now it's a 5v3.
Yes, sir. Cadian, he's not getting down entry at all. This is excellent. This is a 5 versus 2 situation. Turned 4 versus 1. Nico alone on the A site is fighting for his life, but he will fall in the end. So that is Endpoint on the board, thanks to the force buy. That's the way you love to crack the nut.
Yeah, you see that one person turns around for 1 second outside, and that's all they really need, right? Borup just has to check his back because he's a bit confused, and that's what these nice light fakes are good for. I mean, that was more of just an execute with a good flash for E-Box, but ultimately it got what they needed out of the round. Some people would just buy Deagles on a round like that, but Endpoints are always buying a bit of utility on these second round buys when they force up bomb plant or not. So well-earned round by them. Crucial going to be scouting, and Heroic will now try to give him a taste of that same Deagle buy.
Ooh, careful now. Nico taking damage on the shoulder peak, still able to lay down the smoke before anybody can just come stampeding inwards, but Tessus does get the call to action, and now he's behind the bomb site. Not to mention a third member over inside of Z still. And Endpoint with no presence anywhere else on the map are now susceptible to this Ivy flank. This is at least information for Heroic. Not going to net them any kills, but they're going to have to strong-arm their way into this B site. Putting down their own smoke on upper, maybe trying to play around it. Flames, ooh, killing Nico, but Tessus down. That's the dirty Deagles, the doubles coming in, and there's the scout from downtown. It's all on Mighty Max. A 1 versus 3 back the other direction. And he's going to slow it down after getting the first of 3. His flank is open, which means only 1 player on the bomb site. That's kind of a saving grace. If he can get that duel picked up, he would have been good. But now he's seen that flanker, and Borup doesn't mind the fact that he's only on the Deagle. Heroic winning the round right back.
You gotta love the fact that Borup just stands there, that he doesn't leave and try to play the long con and go rotations with Cadian after taking 1 shot. No, he faces him straight on. And a Mighty Max might not be the most mechanically gifted player on Endpoint or the best scoring stats player on Endpoint, but we saw how he could win some clutches when he played against G2 yesterday. And I expect to see some more of that as well. And of course, making great calls yesterday in their series versus G2. So now it's going to be Flames with the only respectable gun on the server, but Borup is going to take both him and Surreal out in the first 20 seconds.
One was over quick.
Yeah.
Is it over?
Well, the AK can be reclaimed.
Perhaps. Mighty Max is kind of sussing out the situation, but he knows there's danger looming near, and he wouldn't be wrong. Borup staying posted up there in the upper halls.
Important not to bite on that flash and make some noise. 3 of them on the ramp, and it's all just on Nico, but the trade's in AK. It's going to be worth its weight in gold here.
If he backs up, he's going to get shot in the back by Cadian Scout. So really, Robin needs this upper duel first and foremost. There it is, peeking backwards right into the headshot. It's Heroic with a third.
With Endpoint's T side, it's all about Flames really on this map. He is the ladder box calls lurk, and he is very, very good at working the bottom of the ladder. When they played against Mouse Sports, he was the key player when it came to winning duels versus Frozen, who's an incredible ladder player. He was the guy helping them add that third choke point to their outside execs to put pressure on these positions by himself. And whoa, before we talk about that, another push, just a flagrant push up the ramp. Somebody holding the fall back right now, but Nico collecting all of the dollars into these SMGs for Heroic.
breather here. No flashbang to pop off of, unfortunately. So maybe hoping that somebody gives them the chance to rush in. But I mean, let's be real. Heroic, well drilled. Not going to be making too many mistakes. It's the third Glock in that will get the headshot. You know what? That right there is enough. Mighty Max, good on him. He's working with absolutely nothing other than the distraction of his two teammates. He makes the most of the Glock shots to the back of the head and finds the bomb plant off of it. So all things considered, it's the silver lining here in round 5, but it's a 4th for Heroic.
Of course, it's a great round because they get so many SMG kills and they're 1 SMG from Nico, but it's equally as good for Endpoint to get the bomb plant on T side. That'll supplant the economy so they can got all the nades that they want. Mighty Max, I don't know if we're seeing an op purchase for somebody in this half. It seems like they mostly will rifle up, and that's totally fine. Heard Mouse Sports talk about how their train is not the same anymore because they don't have an op on the T side, and train is one of the maps they feel at the most. T-side opping on train is hard, but it's also can be pretty fruitful in the default to have somebody sitting in the T-con and clearing out all the angles, back train stopper, top trains, etc. And it usually results in a kill with a good enough opper.
Big old dog pile here inside of the ramp. Works well for Cadian first. Surreal taken out of this one. So they immediately transition down into the outer bomb site, looking for some kind of an opening here. We've got that molly back on Ivy and another in C. Mighty Max able to make the most of that player as he tried to transition into the site. TessS trades one. Stown fixated on Ivy as Mighty Max attempts to get that long-range entry. But Heroic, they stopped giving them duels, and now Endpoint, they're kind of awkwardly stuck in this outer site. They haven't moved forward to the bomb site itself, but they no longer can fall back because they've got this minimal cover of E-Box, and now the artillery just starts raining down on them. Frag grenades bouncing off of the back wall, Flames all that remains, and he will find nothing further. They had the attempt at the A site, but they just couldn't get into it with all of that utility popping off.
The two people I've heard talk about Heroic and how they had their Cologne run and how they had their deep run at Pro League, both cited, I think it was Kerrigan and Glaive, they just both cited how much confidence Heroic had, how they were very aggressive CT sides, and how they took risks you wouldn't take if you were just having average results. They took specific risks because they were playing so well and having so many big wins, and they felt like they were just playing this godlike feeling. And I think Kerrigan was reminded of a time when, he was on FaZe and his team was playing in a similar fashion. And now they've got Endpoint on a bit of a save. They've got these really good aggressive setups with a rifle up close, someone in the back for a catch-all to make sure that they are tradable, even if they are pushing.
Damage that's down as well here, so hold on. Maybe they find their chance, but if they just stampede into the B site, it could be Nico to lock it all down. He's got a strong position on the train. Mighty Max attempts to get down ramp, and, again, just a little whiff of desperation kind of for Endpoint on those moments.
Did you notice they use the so there's the Astralis crossfire setup that Astralis used on the lower ramp on B, and they also use that in Inferno on long haul. But yesterday we saw North use the triple setup on the lower ramp, and today Heroic used the exact same triple setup. And I don't know who did it first or who did it better because it worked both times. But when Heroic had this aggressive, like 3-prong setup on the lower ramp, it just shows you how many aggressive CT setups that they're willing to implore. Did one in Ivy just now, did one on the lower ramp, have pushed. I feel like almost half of these rounds, it'll be another win here for Cadian. Another early 5v4 and a fallback plan, as we noticed every single time there's somebody in the back lines looking for the guy who's coming to trade the original kill.
Little boost inside of Ivy to put Crucial up. Maybe his op can nab back a frag. Equal things at the 4v4. It's just very much going to be Nico tested here. Oh my god, and he passes with flying colors. Double headshot into Robin and Mighty Max. Oh my. Bomb even thrown at his feet, but there's a chance for Crucial to walk out here. I feel like the responsibility has now fallen onto Cadian. I keep an eyes back on Ivy, but Flames, he's throwing a wrench into the works by killing a player towards T-Con. There's the pinch. It's coming in from separate directions at separate moments, but the 1v1s were working well until Stown dropped Crucial, because now Flames' 10 HP versus 3 should never be enough. And TessS, almost catching him from that spawn flank. Cadian, USP tippity taps to close it out. It's Heroic 7-1.
I know some criticism for Heroic that they do a lot of aggressive CT setup without actually, making sure everyone's safe when they do it. And, the idea behind how these maps are designed, of course, like there's only so much CT aggression that can be allowed without you taking huge risks. But that just feels like what you need to do these days. But what we're seeing on Train so far is totally controlled aggression, like totally backed aggression, like lots of opportunities to trade. It's just that they're never losing that opening duel. So we never have to see the fail-safe part of their setups to make up for, them losing their opening trade or push. Everybody's just playing so well.
And I think that was my biggest concern coming into this for Endpoint is like, we saw great things from them versus G2 yesterday. They put up a fight in a matchup that some would have written them off far more significantly. But Heroic are not the walking wounded along the lines of G2. I mean, look at the individual Spawn just popping them, not missing shots. That reliable second opper.
They kind of are, though,
Idea.
Connor. They're off a 5-series loss streak right now.
Sure. Okay. All right.
That's kind of crazy. Like, it's weird to think about.
It is kind of crazy to remember because at the same time, they have been turning heads. And that game yesterday versus Astralis, like the individuals look so good. But all right, fair point.
So since they lost to Na'Vi at Pro League and then lost the Revenge series versus Astralis, they haven't won yet. They lost both series at New York and now their first opening series at Fall. Now, that being said, we had like a grand final-esque level series yesterday between Heroic and Astralis. It was beautiful to watch, but it was still a loss. So, I mean, the confidence, it might be a little bit hurt, but at the same time, Endpoints, it feels like sometimes it could be a bit of a punching bag for these teams that are supposed to be winning versus harder teams.
Yeah, spot on, Oh, Testes. I thought he was going to get rushed quick, but no, they just divert outside. They hold. No issue. I was going to say, if Heroic is the Walking Dead along the lines of G2. G2 is that like original zombie that's now have to survive like 8 seasons outside. Its arms have fallen off. This is still a fresh face Walking Dead here from Heroic. They've still got jowls.
I'd like to look at Flames for a second because in his position, because they've been pushing Inner so often, he can't even get started on the round. He always constantly having to look for that Inner push. But this is his bread and butter. Working ladder, taking lots of damage, being happy to go out and take risks. And we'll even follow up on this. No, I thought he was going out. It's actually Ston to get a 2K in the process, and Flames can't even get started.
Killer no scope. Stout just combat opping, completely tested around the bomb site, and yet not even breaking a sweat. Because Cadian's coming in as the nail in the coffin, or at least he's supposed to be. Mighty Max finding Nico opens this one up a little bit. We've got low HP on 2 of the 3, and now 1 opper removed. But Cadian does hit his second attempt and then peels away from it. We've got 100 HP versus 100 HP in Mighty Max and Borup. It's a duel on the bomb site for the bomb plant. But Mighty Max, he's so fixated on the possibility of Cadian's flank that I don't know if he's going to expect him to have so quickly moved over to ladder room. It could have spelled disaster, except Mighty Max wins his duel, plants bomb, and Cadian never comes crawling out. So Mighty Max, huge advantage, and now, based on timing, should be wary of either of those exits. If he doesn't see Cadian for another 10 seconds, then he has to start worrying about flank. But then again, it could be Ivy. Mighty Max is inside of his own mind, and Cadian's trying to find him. But it's actually getting eyes on Mighty Max that will be the hardest part. Cadian, 2 health, would need a killer headshot, and time is of the essence. At this point, it's just not winnable. He's going to have to desperately get on it or desperately get out. Mighty Max, sprinting for T-Con, wins a second round here for Endpoint.
Oh, it scoops the op up as well. It's a great round. It's another clutch by Mighty Max. I mean, this guy plays with his brain, and we see him clutch time and time again. It's super easy. He goes to the kind of most predictable spot, but just because it's predictable doesn't mean it's easy. We have Cadian, who is going to clear out a number of angles, and if he gambles and assumes that Mighty Max goes to the most kind of default safest spot in the clutch, he can have that opportunity to get there in time. But if he wants to look out and clear all these gimmick spots in the process, he doesn't have time to do both. And Mighty Max does go for that safe, smart play, ends up being the right one, delays for long enough, doesn't have to shoot a bullet. That's how all clutches should go.
Is this Endpoint's chance to crack into it?
I don't know.
Are you ready?
I am ready. I'm hopeful.
That's good. Crucial too, as he no-scopes bullets through the floorboards of the ladder room, but...
Oh man, Flames Tessa.
Yeah, Tessa's gonna back up, trying to dodge any kind of utility damage, lays down a smoke to buy time. I mean, Tessa's definitely got his money's worth in terms of effort there in ladder room. Look at the damage he did to Crucial and Flames.
Yeah. That's what it's all about. It's like that 40 and 50. So this is the thing that just feels he has so much experience with Flames in such a young player, where when he works the ladder, he understands the value of getting that 40 or 50 damage and also taking some damage for map control. And that's something a lot of players don't have, right? They have the aim, but they don't understand what it means to be scrappy, and they don't understand what it means to have every advantage in a round, whether it's taking ladder control or doing a little bit of damage. So another aggressive setup up the A ramp for Heroic. And even though they don't have a kill here, they have such HP advantage across all 5.
Down barely getting the pick, but then he doesn't get out. Mighty Max gets him. Nico's able to trade one more, but it's still the exit out from Ivy. That's going to be 2 players trying to compromise the outer yard, and everybody for Heroic that's actually here has to exit out from Z. Tessas has a bit more space, but Crucial, critical off shot right between the eyes of Tessas. That opens up the bomb plant. We've got wounded players on each side of this, and the creep down ladder doesn't go too well. Surreal besting Borup. Another retake attempt on the A site. This could be Endpoint's 3rd. And this time, there's a world where they walk away with more than just one gun. Nico exits Ivy. Yeah, they're going to let this one slide by the looks of it. It's 3 up for Endpoint if they can all find their exit routes clean.
Wow, that's what they needed. I mean, definitely, you'd think that HP was going to make a world of difference. Flames lurks out. Actually, it's pronounced Flame Z, sorry. He wants it to be Flame Z.
Flame Z.
Flame Z, yeah. So
okay.
There's it's not like Flame E, it's not like Flame Z, but he came out upper B with low HP and then tried to fight a guy back summit and ended up dying because he had like 40 health because Tessas had really kind of like done him in at the top of ladder, and it felt like that the round was going to fall apart. But Crucial gets this swing frag on his peak back 6, and he should have died. He hit a really nice flick there. But it's crazy to just think about how much can rest on one single trade, and I think that was it.
8-3, 5 rounds trailing. Endpoint on the T side, still in a good position, doing enough for the time being, but I don't know, this double op setup, it's going to be a tough one to crack, not to mention Tessas yet another round where he's doing good work on ladder. And even after his first kill, because he hasn't lost a single point of health, he's just ready to sit here and fight for another. And sure enough, as they try to throw their grenades down, he takes that duel, does a little bit of damage to 2. What was crucial was Stound picking up an op kill in the meantime. That one gonna equalize the numbers. That was an aggressive Ivy peak by the looks of it.
Man, this is the thing, right? Because you're getting the inner pushes, but then when 2 of 3 things aren't working out, ladder or inner, you're having Stound get like 2 off frags. Like they're basically getting something out every single time. Ooh, push Ivy. Oh. Warp wins his as Stound chimes in again.
Yeah, ops are doing wonders here for Heroic. Flamesy up on top of the blue trains, looking for his headshots. Everybody's tucked away nicely here for Heroic. They're ready to go to bed. Oh, and now Stound sleeping with the fishes. Hell of a headshot, hell of a crack of the whip downwards, but how much more can he really do?
Oh, tell me it's
Seems
going to
like
be a
another
one-tap 1v4.
Come on. Come on, there's just 2 more to go. Make it look easy, kid. He's got 17 seconds. That's the biggest issue. He's even got the bomb on his back. I mean, if he can kill the Z player, then the bomb plant's looking fruitful. He taps it once, gets the Z player to come out, but doesn't find him in the deadly game of Ring Around the Rosie. Nico instead shuts that down. But a very cool and collected attempt there in the 1v4. I mean, the kid's gunning for the ace.
Yeah, I don't know how Cadian doesn't realize he could be flanking back 6 in that situation, but if it's for the 1v4 one-tap clutch, it's okay, right? That's all we really want to see. No,
Fair.
He had the right idea. If he had gotten the kill on the player coming out of Z and he did pull him out, then he opens up where he can plant the bomb dramatically. We saw him win his duel versus Tessus earlier in the round as well. And you see how he's just not scared to do what he needs to do. Go halfway down the ladder, throw nades, spam a lot, put pressure, and also deliver the kill, not just go through the motions.
Tessus again, threatening. With good damage as well here, just versus the Deagle, but Flamesy jumping down into the smoke, riding the ladder back up. It's a wild start, but things then settle down a bit. Endpoint, I mean, they're just going to try and sink this into the back of the B site. Best of luck. With only one player on Kevlar and a single flash left, it's going to have to be something superb. There it goes. Mighty Max trying to flash his teammates out. Borup good for the double. And then it's Cadian, and Crucial falls to his death. Oh, his knees have snapped. Mighty Max trying to get his hands on the M4, but that too gets cut down. So double digits for Heroic here on the CT side, and still 2 rounds to play.
Heroic look great, man. They look awesome. They look great on Ivy. They look great on these inner pushes. They look strong with Tessus, even though he's getting a lot of pressure applied to him. He's working alone, right? It's usually Crucial and Flames needed to take him down. They're throwing double nades. They're throwing the kitchen sink. They're throwing smoke grenades. They're throwing players. Flames is jumping down there with a deagle. They're spamming him, and he's still sometimes managing to get a kill or even a lot of damage and stay alive. So it's just, there's no easy choke points right now, as if T-side train wasn't hard enough.
Yeah, poor guys. If Tessus can keep this up, I mean, eventually you'd think they'd find the solution to him, but he's down to half HP without having done any damage back the other way here. You know, and unfortunately for Endpoint, yesterday, Tell the Tape told us that we could talk about the entire roster. Everybody was putting up numbers. It was a very concentrated effort from everyone on the team, but we still have 1 frag and 1 frag only for Crucial and Surreal. So we're going to have to see some quick kills as they come into the B site. Crucial goes down as Nico is just slaughtering them. Robin does find some bit of footing on the other side of the site, and he's looking to cut off the Z players if he can. Smokes initially fade. Molotovs take their place, and Cadian, well, he knew he was getting aggressed upon. So Mighty Max is in the clutch, and if he had more than 30 health, then he'd probably have a better chance, but he's about to get pinched by Cadian.
Wait.
Or is he? Cadian has swung by. Now, Mighty Max has the element of surprise. 30 seconds. I mean, if Cadian keeps going, there's a world where everybody else from Heroic peels off of this bomb site, and then Mighty Max is just left here staring into the wall.
He's just home alone right now. He didn't even know Cadian walked by him. He didn't see him up there.
Hello, guys? Hello?
15 seconds.
And the bomb plant will be safe from Cadian. They can't stop this plant.
They're so confused.
Unless he puts it in the open? No, sir. He's good to go. Now he goes back towards Z. And this shot from Cadian shuts it all down. What could have been is not. An 11th for Heroic.
That's funny. They're talking about it right now. Where'd it come from? How'd he get there? That's the nature of Train. That's the nature of Train. All right. Well, one more chance here on the T side to get something going. I mean, I'd like to see just like a really hard-fought round that ends up going well. But it's been a tough game. Surreal and Crucial are 1-12 and 1-13, which is tough. But I don't want to blame them. Like some of these, like it just looks like Heroic are very much in form right now. They woke up before 10 a.m. They had their monster energy. They're looking very comfortable.
Ooh, well, let's see if they can close it. I mean, talking about the comfort, Tessus is just a machine. Finally seeing him in a position other than ladder room, and he's still finding success in abundance. 2 frags for him in the T-Con. Mighty Max is trying to exit because he already has a teammate outwards, but Flame Z now needs to retrieve bomb, and Cadian's having none of that. 12 for Heroic on the defensive half of Train. Join us after the break to see how quick they close. Heroic walking into the server and looking like the best team in the world. Poor Endpoint unable to get much rolling here on that T side of Train. And I don't know if it gets any easier. We've got a fired up Heroic leading by 9 as they take to the start of the second half.
Oh man, it's more. It's like more than that, right? It's not even just that. Like, man, Endpoint, they got so unlucky. It wasn't unlucky at all. It was Heroic were just better. They were so much stronger on all choke points. They had so many ideas. All their ideas worked. They had fail-safe plans. They didn't even have to implore to win them rounds. It was just the first guy out gets 2 frags. If it doesn't work there, Stown ends up getting 2 revenge frags with his op. They had just had so many outs. It's very scary Heroic right now.
Mighty Max creeping inwards, catching Borup. Yeah, nice little headshot on that one.
That's a disadvantaged position. You see that the shadow for Mighty Max shows to that T-Con player.
They got away with a bit of a robbery, but look. The pack comes hunting. Heroic back into T-Con, having lost one of their players, seeking revenge. But Mighty Max did not push into T-Con, rather falling back to play within the trains amidst his other 2 friends as well. Remember, we've got Flamesy and Robin here, ready to hold that A site. We hit the 40-second mark, and Heroic haven't done too much. They've got 1 flashbang on Testes to try and get some kind of an exit. They start working outwards. They're taking a bit of damage. But again, you know, we've got players tucked into corners here in Mighty Max. So Stown, first headshot, crucial with 2. Robin with 1 as well. And it's all going very well. Heroic, yeah, completely shut down. So Endpoint starting the CT side with a little gusto, Mohan. A little gas on those pistols.
All right, yeah. Let's play gas pedal. I'm so down. That's it's going to be a tough comeback. It's probably unlikely. Let's be real, but we'll at least get to see the CT side and a bit more effort from Heroic. No free wins here off the pistol win for Endpoint. 3 FAMASes bought up for Endpoint. Tells me they're a bit scared of losing this round. They know that Heroic are probably going to force, and I think ideally when you have this big of a mountain to climb on a comeback, you do want to invest in SMGs because you at least create a padding, like an economic padding for your comeback if you lose rounds coming up. And I think, you know, playing for every single round when you're this far down is probably not a great strategy. Puts so much pressure on them to not lose players. And they spent just way more money on the FAMASes in the first place.
Ooh,
but
nice.
So far, so clean. Yeah.
Dunked. Surreal just nails it on Borup's head. Bounced it on his forehead.
Was that just a bank down the lower ramp?
No, sir. She chucked it over through the hole.
Oh, right. Okay.
Through the hole on top.
It's to catch people doing their lineups.
Yes. It's like that really obscure grenade on Inferno from like over short A into
the back of the stairs. Yeah.
Yeah. Balcony jump. Bank it off the skybox. You know, misses 85% of the time, but when it lands on point. Just like Mighty Max and the Scout, shutting down that first attempt at a T-Con exit, trying to jiggle on both sides of the E-box, but TessS is a little too quick for that, and then he snaps the head of FlameZ off the train. 20 seconds, and the bomb does have a bit of footing outdoors. Here's Nico in from behind, catching Crucial by surprise, but TessS all that's left. And well, he's at least gotten control of the bomb site, so he's going to go for this plant on top of it. It's safe. TessS just now needs to hone in on one of these two CTs before they can pinch him on their own accord. There's the fight, and he wins it with the exit route as well. Could have gone Z, but Surreal didn't see him cross, so he's more focused on the bomb site, and he should be. TessS, he swings, and it's shut down by Surreal. A 5th round for Endpoint, but a costly one at that.
He's got to gamble at some point, and it's arbitrary which side of the train Surreal is going to be on, but beautifully played by TessS up until that point. So many smart moves, and you know, the aim is looking crispy too. That hard clear on the back 6 train, and all of the openings as well, with the kind of solo AK or one of 2 AKs in the round. Really sick stuff and scary for Endpoint. And again, we see how much that cost them. They had to buy down to 0. They're going to upgrade some guns. They got Surreal actually gets to upgrade to an AK right there, which is very fortunate. But you know, Heroic smell blood. They got the AK on TessS one more time. No armor on everyone else, but they've got a fair bit of utility as well.
Look at that barbecue. Once the flames go out, the T's come in. Heroic looking to attempt to challenge this outer yard. FlameZ completely blind, but as he regains vision, he regains control of the situation as well. 2 frags for him, leaving the rest of Heroic stranded here on E-box with rifles peppering them in all directions. Down though, he could just push right through smoke, almost finding an opening, but Surreal 1 step ahead of the curb gives Endpoint their 6th. They still have only half of the round count, Mohan, but Heroic is faltering.
Yeah, they are. And at some point, you think Heroic are probably going to try to save. I'm just kidding, guys. Of course, they're not going to save. They've got enough money for 3 AKs, a Galil, and another situation where there's only 2 alive for Endpoint, and they bought expensive guns. So they're not at a surplus on their money. They had to spend everything. They only had 2 alive. So yeah, still not out of the woods, and it's a rush down the lower site. Surreal will have to do it all.
Gets overwhelmed by Stound, but Crucial still here to try and manage. It's not going to be an easy exit for Cadian. He's just going to start dumping his utility here, trying to get off of the bomb site if he can, but he's blindsided by FlameZ coming up from lane. It's a good 2-man pinch, and Borup, well, he'll throw his Molotov down, but that doesn't seem to stave off the retake. Endpoint will take a 7th, and slowly but surely, they're racking the rounds up, and they're bringing this game back.
What's crazy is Heroic have not had to save this half. They bought on the pistol, they forced up in the 2nd round, they forced up again, they brought it close every time, and now they have enough money for their full buy. The absolute state of things, Connor.
Imagine.
Yeah, this tough. But on the flip side, Endpoint's rounds are getting more and more dominant. So at least now they've got money for an up. They're sitting more comfortably. They've got a little bit in the bank left over. You know, for the kids' college fund, they've got a few $1,000s a piece. And they had a nicer round to look back on for the confidence as well. So now we've definitely got a game on our hands. It's 5 rounds. The difference, CT side looking a bit better for Endpoint, and maybe they're not as scared anymore.
Mighty Max, barrel stuffed. Tries to sneak through smoke, and it doesn't go too well. Down though, almost caught by the man inside of CT. Now he's dropping utility at his feet to just try and keep him alive. Crucial has to be cautious. Doesn't know if someone's going to come barreling towards him, or rather walk back. But there's also an AK here, or there was. TessS getting the headshot into Surreal, now leaves that op stranded. FlameZ solo on the bomb site, able to put up a good fight until Borup shuts him down. But this did buy time for Crucial to double back into Z, and that's not going to stop Heroic from breaking the curse. A 13th on the board. They got there in the end. 3 survivors, and maybe now they take back control.
That's all about Sound just being a huge pain in the ass, right? He gets the barrel stuff kill from we see the smoke icon on the screen. He was abusing the fact that, you know, being in the smoke, It's a very common thing to do. It's a tough battle to win if you're on the outside. And he gets the Ivy kill, and then he moves fast, crucial on the rotation, even though it's probably calmed perfectly. He doesn't expect him to be all the way in the spawn. He drops a smoke, he stays alive, he keeps attention of 2 CTs, and then they go and try to kill his teammate. Down gets another one on the push, and look at that endpoint. They just don't have enough money to buy, even though they were close.
CT's have been able to cross paths with the guys coming out her, but I mean, there's just nothing for them to do here at all.
They were so close, man.
They were.
Like they had like that finally that good round. They finally had a three alive round. They had a little bit of money left over, but that's why you want to have, you know, the SMG second round, so that you have a situation like this where you lose, you don't immediately have to save after winning 4 rounds in a row. And now, you know, Heroic, at least they're not on match point quite yet for Endpoint, so we have one more chance really for a home run performance to come all the way back into it with good guns, but this really is it.
Yeah, the margin of error is so slim at this point. But I mean, that's kind of been the story for Endpoint, even versus G2 yesterday, right? We saw them on train just crumble because of economy at the end. And this time, I mean, let's be real, it's the round count of the first half that really gives Heroic this massive edge. And the scoreline won't tell you how close to maybe a CT-sided comeback we had going. But quick trade inside of Ladder Room. If there's one success story here today for Endpoint, it's that FlameZ is performing to his reputation. And he's got Mighty Max not too far behind him. And hey, it's not over yet. Double op set up in the 4v4, minute on the clock. And Heroic kind of giving enough respect to Endpoint and just taking their time with this 20-second round. But maybe the snipers will get themselves into position. Mighty Max now in a compromised spot, seeing as somebody has outered or exited. But he goes back around the corner, yet just can't quite catch him. The timing is impeccable here, but it's working out for Endpoint because as that all unfolds, we're just seeing them pick up pieces. Surreal with 1, FlameZ with his second in the round, now turned to the third. Yes, Borup will best Mighty Max, but he finds himself now in the 1v3 after that. So everybody's just going to leave him to his own devices because he doesn't have the explosive device that he needs to win the round.
Yeah, this is, you know, FlameZ doing his job at ladder. Some of these rounds are going to be easier than others. So the guy at the bottom has definitely got a better time than the guy up top. So, but for him to get 3 is very impressive. And yeah, Heroic will have to save off of that, even though they get a lurk off on this round. A decent round for Endpoint. Some money saved. They don't save the 2 ops, I think, that they had. So that is one thing they might be a bit uncomfortable. We look at the scores here on the CT side. We had a situation where Crucial and Surreal coming out of the first half had 1 kill each, I think. And now Surreal's up to 10, Crucial's up to 5. I mean, orders of magnitude better, even though they're still down there at 10 and 5. Just because this half has only just started.
Let's see. Overtime's not impossible. Hell, technically, the win still possible. Just gonna have to be flawless from here on out. B defense has Surreal up close and 1-man supporting from the exit of Z. Crucial and Surreal, kind of the 2 under question. So now they're under pressure, and Tesses hits that long-range headshot. Surreal, his flank's going to be open. He looks away at the worst possible moment, but he had to. He was so compromised with so many players from Heroic just barreling outwards onto the B site, and now it's an immediate save off of it. Crucial and Surreal had to hold the line at least enough to justify the retake attempt, but that slips through the fingertips, and it's a 15th round for Heroic on the board.
People think, well, like, Crucial has to get like a 3K there. No, he doesn't. He just has to stay alive. If he stays alive, then they can't run up the path like they do, and then it's not awkward for Surreal to figure out when he needs to turn around or not. It's perfect pathing from Heroic. They don't only wrap around, right? They have a late timing coming down the back, and it's ideal for the way he's playing it and thinking about his audibles. So just beautiful from Heroic, but killing the guy in the back first is what compromises the whole situation. You can't blame Surreal there at all.
Yeah, and I mean, Crucial, it's not even though he like stuck around to try and fight. Once he kind of ate that first flashbang, he tried to jump into cover. But Tesses just too quick.
Yeah.
Darth Mike over here. 7 rounds to go, Mohan.
Furrowed my eyebrow.
Come on. They've at least got somewhat of a buy to do it. I mean, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. just out of the realm of probability. Exit already from down, but there it is, an aggression from FlameZ. TeSeS there to trade it. He is the master of the ladder so far on here. Ooh, but Robin and Crucial able to claw this one back ever so slightly here for Endpoint. Man advantage in their hands. And Heroic's last two players a bit more removed from that engagement, so no trade potential immediately. But they could just go side by side into this outer yard, and if they do that, oh, it's just Robin on half health backed by Ivy, and Crucial's tucked into ladder room, playing this one patient.
He wants to move because he's scared, but oh, it's actually an opening that's found by Crucial. Now Katie in 1v3. Going up top, just like fighting for information. It's got to take some risks here. I don't know if he's spotted crossing, but let's see. I mean, he could move up for the shotgun op into the ladder if he's brave enough.
Oh, man.
If he
This is
kills
like
the connector player, he can go B.
It's like the Danish Bermuda Triangle right now, and he is in the center of it all.
Yeah.
He's got a chance. This is it. His chance. Right versus Surreal, but no, shut down. That's a 9th for Endpoint. 6 more to go to force OT.
They'll call it a comeback.
Crucial. Good timing on that second kill. Just peeking out from T-Con as the player exited.
Full buy-in again. 6 rounds to go. Every round will be as hard as the last. So Heroic basically never saved this half. Only I think one round, if even 2. I'm not even sure. Endpoint, how many antics do they have to come up with on the CT side? They're floating around the middle of the site, not really playing inside the ladder. Don't know if they had spawns this time. Crucial finds an op kill. Nico's out. TeSeS looking for the lurk. He's activated. Look at him. Foaming at the mouth. Oh, but
nice.
Fully well aware of that one.
He's right into it. TeSeS is a big scalp to take. 5v3. Again, if they can keep players alive, then they're really stabilizing to try and finalize these 5 rounds after this one. Assuming they get this one. But you don't want to assume.
Wait.
It's a dangerous game. We've got that wraparound from Stown, but he's slain. Crucial plugs the hole, and now this A bomb site is so stacked that it's going to be difficult for Heroic to find anything at all. Cadian, last man up, 1v5, 40 seconds on the clock.
And they had a full tank at the start of this half, but they are starting to lose steam. They are starting to lose a little bit of steam. It's a very quiet default round that falls apart on all fronts. There's no individual plays that get him a couple of kills. Instead, it's an individual play from Crucial to just ice him out completely. And now you can really start to discuss what happened in the future. The trend of the rounds is leaning heavily towards the CTs. Into the double digits, a very respectable scoreline now. This is what we saw with G2 yesterday. Respectable scoreline for Endpoint, but they still had a close loss. They need more than that, right? You get to a respectable scoreline, that means you could have won on a better day. Let's see if there's a better day today.
Four flashbangs, 2 Desert Eagles, a single P250. These are the bare bones buys that Heroic are stuck with for the time being, but they've at least found some footing off of that initial utility usage. Then the Flames force them into the open. Stown gets 1, but FlameZ takes 2. And oh my god, they're just bunny hopping across the crosshairs. Nico out here by 6, and Surreal, well, he does connect it, starts to recover the situation because things were getting frantic, they were getting hectic, and they are still possible for TeSeS. He has his hands on an M4, and in the 1v3, he's gotten the first, he's got the information on the other 2, and this could be the close, are you kidding? TeSeS with a killer instinct goes from Glock to M4 to a 16th round for Heroic, and of all the ways to close train, it's with that.
That caught me off guard, man. I can't believe it's TeSeS to close it out. It's Stown with the Prince stream with the first 2 kills, and then TeSeS to close the 1v3. Glad he got a clutch that good, because we saw how close he came previously with that 1v4 attempt. But man, for Endpoint to go out on a round like that is rough. I didn't realize it was 16 already after that round. It was a full eco for Heroic, basically.
it hurts. But you know what? I think if anybody deserves it, it should be Tessas. He did so well working in that ladder room, both on CT and T side. You know, he was kind of constantly cracking open that A site, so he seals the deal as well on top of it. It is heroic to take Train, but this one's not done. Endpoint, elimination on the line, one map away from that chopping block. We'll see you guys after the break with the analyst panel.